Now, I would like us to start this conversation by highlighting the need for this. In your own opinion, why would you say the creation of these new states, specifically summing up the number of states in the Southeast to 6 different states, how important is it to do this at this very time in relation to the constitutional review as well?
Thank you. Good afternoon. This is a very topical issue. It has been on the burner for a very long time to give the Southeast a 6th state. We know that every other zone in this country has 6 states, and the Northwest has 7. So the Southeast has lost quite a lot in terms of benefits accruing to it, including the loss of about 5 senatorial seats, 3 senatorial seats, which could have come to them, and then the sharing of the revenue, federal revenue. A lot has been lost, and other amenities have been lost in terms of positions that are going to the states. Be that as it may, it will be nice if the current National Assembly is able to create that 6th state we have been looking for. It has been on the front burner. Former National Assembly have made it clear in the past that, it was something nice to be created, and we have been expecting it, but it never came. So I hope that the current National Assembly will have the courage to do that, which should have been done a long time ago. Thank you.
So how might the creation of new states affect Nigeria's federal system, and what are the potential implications for national unity and stability?
Well, the implication would be that at least the states will be at par. Remember in the last national conference in 2014, of which I was a member, we did come to the issue of creation of states, and we recommended also that the Southeast would have an additional state, and other zones, all the other zones, including the Southeast again, were to have more states. I remember by then 3 states were recommended from the Southeast, and different other zones in the country, including the Northeast, the North Central, the Southwest, the South-South, the Northwest even also had some states recommended. So I hope that will be good enough for the country, for the unity of the country. Everybody will feel equally accommodated, and then development will go down better to the grassroots. Because one of the biggest problems we have had is the over-centralization at the national level. So the more the states are created, provided they are viable, then we are now bringing development nearer to the people.
I can agree with you more, but just as the conversation leads with, can Nigeria actually afford to create these new states? And taking things down to the Southeast, understanding the premise for why this is happening, this technically would equally allow the states to have access to more resource. But do you think, in fact, that the creation of an additional state, so we're equal, there's 6 states in the Southeast if they add this additional state, do you think that is actually going to translate to a better standard of living for the people in the East? Looking at what we've done with what we have and the resource that is available, would you say that an additional state will solve the problems of infrastructure, including roads and healthcare, the standard of living, the quality of education? Do you think this is going to solve some pertinent issues that are affecting the people living in the East at this time, insecurity included?
Yes, I do think so. If you check the history of the creation of states, it has actually opened up a lot of places that you didn't know that were there. A lot of places that were starved of development, a lot of places that didn't didn't get exposed, had been exposed, and development has gone down better to the grassroots, including healthcare, education. They've all gone down to the grassroots of those new states. So I believe the Southeast will gain a lot if we create this additional state, and also each of the other states will also, after the equalization, because the sixth state is just for equalization, after that equalization, we could still have more states coming up from the other, for all the other zones. Now, you see, in Nigeria, there are a lot of untapped resources at the local level. We are just looking at the federal, the money coming to the federal, that's what we are looking at. But we don't think about the potentials at the grassroots level. Like in such areas like agriculture, in such areas that, like solid minerals, we have a lot we can do. We can harness. And the more you open up the states, the more you are bringing development down
you go decide to close down the whole
and
market.
you're exploiting
The economy. Pay huge money.
You're exploiting
just like waiting in talk, at the end of the
better
day,
opportunities that exist in the economy. I think that will help a lot in developing the areas.
Because you don't understand what you go make
very well
pay
said.
everybody for that
what
market.
Are the challenges that this proposal might face in the National Assembly? You know, and how can the lawmakers address these concerns?
Now,
I'm also wondering how they can be fair and transparent in determining which areas qualify for new states.
Country too hard. Now this thing they make people go
as I
into
said
crime.
Before, there is already a document.
Anyway,
the report of the 2014 National Conference, it debated this issue so extensively and came to some conclusion. If you go to that report today, you will see the names of the states already recommended to be created. So that will be a starting point for the National Assembly. The National Assembly can start from there and be able to invoke the laws that can create these states by amending the Constitution. So they can do it if they have the will. They need the will to do it. If they have, they can do it, and in collaboration also with the state houses of assembly, whose votes are also required to amend the Constitution. So it is something doable. It is something we can achieve if we have the will to do it, and then we'll be better for it.
I love the fact that you spoke about if the will to do it is there. Now, that makes me then wonder, based on your assessment of how the issues have gone on so far, do you think that that will exist?
Well, I believe that will exist if our legislators can behave like statesmen. Yeah, they know that the Southeast, for example, has suffered for such a long time because of the fewer number of states they have. They have suffered a lot of deprivations. I've already named some of them. They have suffered. So if the will is there, they could do it. And it is another way of enhancing cohesion among the states and bringing about national unity. If everybody sees that what has been deprived of from a particular part of the country is being restored. That is all. Now, if we do it, then we can go ahead again, and then there are some other areas. And I will tell you, some areas require a lot of further try and create states in some other places. There are areas that have been suffering from marginalization. There are some areas that, because they are minorities, they cannot produce, maybe the governor, they can produce other things that should go to them. These are people that are marginalized. They are there. The National Conference at the time took care of all this. They took note of them, and it is contained in the report. So it is just a question of reviewing that report and having the will to implement it.
Now, at a time when some analysts are calling for a return to regional governance, could that be an alternative to state creation instead? Maybe we should be focusing more on return to regional government. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, my thoughts are that I still believe that we should restructure this country. Now, in restructuring the country, we try as much as possible to decrease, to reduce the items on this exclusive legislative list and pass this down to the recurrent lists and the residual lists. This will unburden the federal government of a lot of unnecessary responsibilities, things that they are not supposed to be involved in. Now, if we are able to do that, I am sure in that plan, we will then be able to bring government nearer to the people and bring less rancor. What had been the problem at the federal level is that everybody wants to see if you can control the federal government, where all the resources come to, where all the appointments come to. Recently, you have seen a lot of appointments made by the Mr. President. You can see what is happening there. These are some of the issues, but if you were to decentralize, if you were to have true federalism, you will find out that there are those appointments that don't matter. The federal government doesn't have need to make such appointments. The states would have taken care of them. So these are the things that if we are able to achieve that, then we will be able to bring a better cohesion at from the states and at the federal level.
Okay, now let's talk about criteria. In your view, what should guide this state creation? Should it be about population or viability, ethnic identity, political balance? What do you think should? What do you think the major criteria? Now, speaking about all the states in general and which location gets more states, what do you think the attention or the criteria should be on in making this decision?
Okay. Government. I hope
Well,
I don't hear.
just as you noted, there are a lot of criteria to create states. It's not just one.
It not going make sense.
One issue only.
Because of very few
population is there.
Or non-challenge
viability is important. Is the place viable?
You decide to close down the whole market.
Viability is very important.
They pay huge money. Just like waiting talk at the end of the day. Sure, you they try tell them say make them go they produce or sell fake drugs.
Is prompting
because
that
you don't understand what
in some cases
everybody
it
for
might
that
be
market.
out of
Over 5,000 people.
I know some states.
Make them go they pay
I don't need to start naming them, but I know some states
now particularly
some areas
decide to encourage
cannot
that
produce certain sensitive,
cannot
occupy certain sensitive positions in those states. These are some of the reasons.
And
then I know some states where there have been a lot of ethnic clashes.
Anyway,
and they haven't seen peace for a long time. So you can also use the state creation to bring peace to a place. So there are quite a lot of criteria that have to be taken into consideration, but one principal one among them will be a question of viability. Is the state itself viable, or is it a state that is going to depend on handout from the federal government for it to exist? No. So these are the issues that have to be considered before creating such states. Just like I said before, it was debated, a committee looked at it at the National Conference, and it was debated extensively. And these criteria have been taken into consideration in arriving at states that are seen to be viable and necessary to be created. So I think there are some issues to be considered.
Well, talking about issues to be considered, you know, what measures can be